The Valheim Mistlands update not only adds magic, more areas to explore, but also adds brand new traps. But how effective are they, and do they need changing? I think you can guess that I've got some ideas how they can be improved, so let's go. So these are late game items. You won't be able to make them until you've gone and explored the Mistlands. That's because not only do the traps, but the ballistas need mechanical springs. And you craft them out of iron and ether. So you can't actually make any of these until you get a refinery going. So first suggestion, that has got to be changed in my opinion. I feel like these are pretty useless late game, or certainly something that maybe would enhance maybe base building in that region, but I would like there to be another option. Maybe it can be made out of iron rather than black metal, and so thus might do less damage or maybe break, but I do feel like this should be unlocked a little bit earlier. And I'll explain why as we go on. Each trap costs 5 black metal, 10 bronze nails and 1 spring coil. They do around 26 to maybe 40 damage if you're wearing decent armour, or 100 damage if not. And obviously yes, they can trap you and they will keep you immobilised for a few seconds just like they do other creatures. So once you get them, they could be very effective for keeping around your base, particularly to go against some of the trolls or larger creatures in the game. However, the AI of Valheim is pretty smart most of the time, and it does take a while for them to sometimes walk over the traps, and they'll sometimes actively walk around, especially if you're too far away. And this is great in terms of general AI for the Valheim creatures and mobs, but it does mean you'll have to play with fire by getting pretty close to the traps if you want to convince maybe even a troll to come close and actually fall into one. So that might be something else I would look at changing, possibly making them just not sense that the traps are there as much. They're also not necessarily that strong. Even just a troll pound can actually destroy some of the traps. It doesn't take much to get rid of them. So you can imagine larger, more dangerous creatures like some of the Seekers or the Seeker Brutes or even the Jarl, they'll be able to take care of these really easily. Now with the trolls, it does look like their feet is also a weak spot, or it was definitely doing guaranteed 100 damage each time it caught the troll. Obviously I spawned the troll in, so it didn't have much choice about where it could walk, and so you could see when it died, it actually kept on triggering some of the other traps, and even when it disperses into the troll hide, it will also start triggering the traps if it falls on it. So you've still got to be careful with how drops work and having too many traps too close together. There is a little bit of a delay to when you can reset a trap after it's sprung, so you can't just keep trapping the same creature in the same trap, which is a good thing for sure. The damage output they do, I'm quite happy with. I think it's reasonable that it's going to do that much damage to a troll. So if it gets caught in 3 of these, maybe 4, that's it, it's going to be dead. But what about the creatures that it's kind of tied to, since you don't unlock them until you go and explore the Mistlands? Take a look at what happens with a Seeker. I've already caught one, you can see it's taken about maybe 20% of its health there, maybe 25%. And again, it's a good thing in a way that the AI is that smart. It's like, I'm not going to go into any more traps. I'm going to crawl out of this small little space you've left. But I guess its brains can only work so well before it does something stupid like this and lands directly in a trap because I'm that close to them. I've got to say as well, and I don't want it to seem like I'm just moaning, but I'm not a big fan of how much damage it does to the ground underneath it as well, seemingly. I guess it doesn't matter if you're laying these on the floor, and that's where most edge cases are going to be. How many of you are going to be laying them on foundations everywhere in your base is usually outside. So it does deal with the Seeker here pretty effectively. Once it gets caught in a few, just making sure that you can time it and lure it over. So maybe that's really its use. It's not meant to be going around trapping trolls and others. It really is about taking care of these Seekers and stuff. But you try finding a nice piece of flat land where you can place these traps in the Mistlands. Good luck with that. So it takes maybe 3 traps to get caught and to get this guy absolutely chopped in 2. So what about brutes? How effective are they on these guys where they won't obviously be able to just escape or fly into them by accident? Well, again, they do a little bit of damage against them, but again, I would have liked them to do more. And of course the brutes are still smart enough to walk around the edges of them. Now the brutes obviously got their attacks where they're going to ground pound, and even without that, just a general swipe, you can see it gets caught. It doesn't take too much damage, maybe like I would say 5 to 10%, and then it's going to do its ground pound, pretty much destroying any of the traps that you've got placed. But obviously it did go into quite a few, and I have got it down to half health using some of them traps, at least 4 to maybe 6 of them catching it. But it was a tough time convincing this soldier to actually walk over the Romanian ones. It just seemed to back off quite a bit, or wasn't intent on going right through them. It's important to add that these could be an add-on as well, because it does immobilise them, so that's the perfect time to get around the back of a soldier and hit its weak spot. But yeah, I would worry about trying to place these down anywhere when you've got a creature coming to attack you. In the end though, I could only get this guy to almost half health, and it would have took so much longer to get him to just walk over the remaining ones. So I used some commands just to finish the job. So moving on to the ballistas, they have adjusted this since the PTB. You could only load up one actual projectile inside, now you can load up to 20. It costs 10 black metal, 10 Yggdrasil wood and 3 of the springs. And you will need the workbench nearby to place them. So the best case scenario, as far as I can tell for these, is to take on Seekers. What they're not very good at, which I think they should be, is taking on Jarl. Now I have set these up pretty stupidly. You wouldn't aim all 4 in a central spot. But I really want to see just how much damage we could get with the actual ballistas firing at. So I did some more black metal, and I was getting anywhere between, maybe for the wooden ones that you can fire, something like only 30 or 60, up to maybe 120 for the black metal ones. So it does look like damage values are set for both the turret and the trap. So you would not place your turrets like this, but it does give a good indication of what's going to happen when a Jarl attacks some of them. It easily destroyed one of the turrets, and the rest weren't really equipped enough with more to fire on. You see each of these bolts cost 2 black metal, as well as 10 wood and 10 feathers. I luckily had one of the skeleton surprise events happen, so I figured we'd see how good it would be. The bolts are still way too slow to take on most creatures, although when it did hit one of the skeletons it did do quite a bit of damage and took out one of them, usually in one hit. And now at least it was aiming down, and they have actually fixed it so it does aim up a lot more, so you can see it did take that one out pretty well. But again, I still don't think this is like the best use, having it on plinths like this. Obviously you've got to be able to reload it, so you'd need to have it on a proper structure. So more realistic is taking over one of the outposts, or having a central structure and then obviously having something attack it. You can see the 3 turrets that I've got over here, and I was really disappointed that it just wasn't doing enough damage to the Jarl, and was certainly more interested in attacking me once I took the commands off here to fly. Now, Jonathan, the dev that basically created these, has kind of alluded that there may be some more changes incoming, as he's done a Twitter post asking how people want it to work. Do you want it to aim at players or not? And the majority are saying no, they don't want it to work on players at the moment, I do believe. And I think that's going to be the right call. I know it's meant to be realistic Valheim in certain ways, obviously other ways it doesn't really matter, but this is one of them times that I really feel like it should just be turned off and not aim at players. It's not all bad though, as I said, it's pretty good for taking on Seekers. Just look how easily it took care of another Seeker soldier, especially one that couldn't get out for some reason or was getting pinned back. So I really like it for this. So this might be the way to go, making sure you've got them actually on ground level around your base, especially in the Mistlands, and then hopefully you can just run along and check that they've all got enough ammo in, and absolutely obliterate this one in quick, short fashion. So don't have these up high trying to defend against the galleys yet. You're better off taking on the Jarls yourself with decent bow and arrow, and don't use them particularly even for other places like some of your other bases, as they'll simply be way too slow at the moment. If anything changes, I will redo this video, but for now, yeah, they're both just a bit mediocre. The traps have definitely got some uses, and these do have their uses against the Seekers, but I definitely want to see them changes. Let me know what you think about the turrets and the traps, and I'll see you right back for more Valheim guides, news and reviews soon. Bye bye.